All right, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dara Torres.
Thank you. Good morning. You know, I have to tell you, I was a little hesitant to come because I haven't gotten my Wheaties box yet. I mean, who cares about a gold medal? Shouldn't longevity count, really? Come on, you guys. You know, we're kind of short on time, so I won't be able to do Q&A. And the biggest question that people ask me, mostly guys, is, can we see your abs? So I'm just going to get this over with now, and then I'll start my talk, okay? So here you go. All right, there. All right. So you're good now with no questions, right? That's okay? All right. Anyway, I swam in my first Olympics back when I was 17 years old in 1984 and won a gold medal there. In 1988 in Seoul, Korea, I won 2 medals in relays, a silver and a bronze. And then in 1992, I won another medal in Barcelona, a gold in another relay. And when I went to those 92 Olympics, I'll never forget, I was 25 years old, and everyone there called me Grandma, because you didn't really see athletes coming out of college competing in the Olympic Games. You usually were a teenager or in college. So they called me Grandma there. So after those Olympics, I thought, well, you know, I really need to go out and probably get a job and get a life and get over this Olympic thing. So I moved to New York, and I dabbled a little bit in modeling and got into television, and was really enjoying my time. And I went for 7 years with never touching the water. And about a year before the 2000 Olympics, for some reason, I just kind of got the itch again. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to go out to California and start training for another Olympics at the age of 32 and compete in the Olympics at 33. And I made the Olympic team in 2000 in Sydney and kind of won 5 medals there. And it's kind of weird talking about yourself, you know? And I'll never forget being on the awards podium for my last medal. And it was a gold medal in the 400 medley relay, and it was being put around my neck. And the little red light on the camera is on you, and you keep thinking, okay, don't cry, oh, please don't cry. And I'm just like crying. And then I thought, as they were playing the national anthem, like how cool this was. But then I started thinking, God, what am I going to do now with my life? You know, I came back after 7 years off of not swimming, and I now have 9 medals, and you know, what am I going to do? And so I get off the awards podium, and I walk slowly, wave to the crowd, and go into drug testing. When I got done with drug testing, I come out, and there's no one left. It was like 11 o'clock at night, and there was no one left in the arena. So I'm kind of moping out, just kind of bummed, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this guy comes and taps me on the shoulder and says, "Excuse me, Ms. Torres, you know, I have a camera, and I would like to ask you a couple questions." And I'm like, "Sure." So he turns on his camera, sticks the microphone in my face, and said, "You know, I was just wondering, you know, you didn't swim for 7 years, and you came back at the age of 32 and swam here in the Olympics at 33 and won 5 medals. Are you going to do this again another 8 years at age 41? And I looked at this guy, and I said, "That's the stupidest question I ever heard," and I walked off. And needless to say, I'm still trying to find a guy to apologize, because you know, when you're a teenager and you think your parents are in your 40s, you think, God, that's really old, you know. But I didn't feel old, but I don't know, it just seemed really old. So anyway, I finally got pregnant with my daughter when I was 38 years old, and was really excited about it, and tried for a long time to have a child. And I always thought, though, when I got pregnant, I'm still going to continue to exercise. I love exercising. I love the way it makes me look, the way it makes me feel, kind of relieves stress a little bit. So when I found out I was pregnant, I went to the gym and got on the Stairmaster, started working out, and I was probably about like 6 or 7 weeks along, and I'm going along and working out, and next thing I know, I'm starting to feel a little sick, and I'm like, God, what is this? And is this like morning sickness? And next thing you know, over the side of the Stairmaster, I get a little sick, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's not good. And I get down, I clean it up, and I go back to my house and sort of relax. And the next day, I'm feeling pretty good again. I go to the gym, and I get back on that stair climber, and then again, I get sick again. I'm like, geez, you know, everyone's kind of looking at me. This is not great. And so I go back to my house, and I'm like, God, you know, what can I do? Like, what exercise can I do that, you know, is not going to make me get sick? And I thought for a second, and then a light bulb went off. I'm like, wait a minute, I can swim. I go to the pool, the gutter's there, I get sick in the gutter, and I'm done. It's no big deal, you know, and I keep swimming. So I had just moved to this town, Coral Springs, which is south of here. And I didn't really know a lot of pools, and you'd think I know every pool in the country, but I didn't really know a lot of pools in this area. So I asked my partner if there was a pool around. He said, yeah, there's a great Olympic-sized pool here in Coral Springs. And I'm like, yeah, right. You know, when people say Olympic size, you know, you go to those hotels, it says Olympic-sized pool, and it's like, you know, the size of the stage. And so I didn't really believe him, but I got in my car the next day, and I go to this Coral Springs pool, and I walk in, and sure enough, there's this beautiful 50-meter pool and this 25-yard by 25-meter pool, and there's a diving well and a kids pool, and I mean, it was just great. It was unbelievable, and this was back in 2005, 2006, and so I thought, wow, this is a great place to swim. And so I go into the office, and obviously I'm not showing you, I'm only, you know, 6-7 weeks along, and I walk into the office, and there's this elderly woman in there, and I said, excuse me, you know, I'd like to find out about your swim programs. And she looked at me and she said, well, have you ever swum before? I was like, yeah, you know, I've swum a little bit. And she said, well, you know, we have some brochures on the wall here, and why don't you look and, you know, see what programs we have. You can decide what group you're going to be in. And I was like, okay. So I go, and there's like 15 brochures, and I'm looking and looking, and like sitting there for 15 minutes. I'm like, this is crazy. And so she looked at me finally, and she said, well, you know, you seem a little confused. And I said, well, I don't know what group I should be in. And she said, well, have you ever swum in any meets? And I was like, yeah, you know, a few. And she said, well, tell you what, here's a piece of paper and a pen. Why don't you write down what you've done? I'll give it to the coach, and he can decide what group you're in. I was like, okay. So I start writing 4 Olympic Games, Pan American Games, 28-time All-American. I'm writing this whole list down, and then I felt kind of bad. I'm like, I probably should fold it so she doesn't like feel like an idiot. And so I folded it and handed it to her, and she's like, I start to walk out. She's like, excuse me, ma'am, did you put your name and number on here? And I was like, oh yeah, and I go and do that. And so a couple hours later, the head coach, Michael Loberg, calls me, and he starts laughing. He's like, why don't you just tell her who you were? I said, well, she didn't know, so what does it matter? And he's like, okay. He's like, well, so do you want to start swimming? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, how old are you? And I said, 38. And he's like, okay. And there's a little bit of silence on the phone. He's like, well, why don't you come over the next day, and I'll show you around, and we can talk about it. I said, great. So I come the next day, and he's walking me around. Now, for some reason, in the back of my head, I just didn't want to tell him I was pregnant, because I think I kind of wanted to see what he was going to say, like, was he going to put me in his group, or what he was going to do? And so we're walking around. He's showing me some more of the facilities and the gym, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful place. And all he's talking about the entire time is like, oh, we have a great master's program, and oh, here's the master's coach. Oh, she swims in the master's team, masters, masters, masters. And for me, since I was a kid, masters always seemed like it was very old. Like, if you swim masters, you're old. And needless to say, masters actually, I think, starts like in your early 20s, but I didn't know that. I just thought it was for old people, and I didn't consider myself my old at 38. So anyway, I decided to swim in the masters team. So after about 4 months and starting to show, actually about 6 months, I'm starting to show, I had one of the guys that I was swimming against started to race me. And I'm looking at this guy, and the one thing my doctor said is, don't get your heart rate up high while you're pregnant, you know, because if you have a hard time breathing, your baby has a hard time breathing. So I'm pushing off doing a set. I'm 6 months pregnant, and this guy over there starts racing me. I'm like, what's he doing? Like, this middle-aged man is trying to, like, race me. And I'm like, screw that, you know, and I start going faster, and I'm like, I'm pregnant. I don't know if it's the hormones or what's going on, but I just don't want to lose, you know? And so I'm going, and the coach stops me. He's like, what are you doing? You know what your doctor said? I'm like, I can't help it. This guy's racing me. And I started to realize at that point in time that, like, competitiveness doesn't go away. You know, it's still in you there somewhere, and it just kind of has to come out sometimes. And boy, did it come out that day. And so my coach was like, well, why don't you wait 30 seconds, let him go, and then you can go. I'm like, great. So he takes off. I wait 30 seconds, then I take off. And I can't help it. I'm like, am I catching up to him? Like, where is he and stuff? So anyway, I decided at that point on, I'm just going to swim by myself the rest of the time. So I get to about a week before I deliver, and the head coach, Michael Loberg, comes up to me, who I've seen sporadically throughout those 9 months. And he said, Dara, I need to ask you a favor. I'm like, sure. And he's like, we have a meet here in like 4 weeks. And I'm like looking at my 9-month belly. I'm looking at him. I'm like, yeah. And he said, I was just wondering if you can swim in it. I'm like, really? And he said, yeah, just ask your doctor. I'm sure he won't mind. I'm like, okay. And so, of course, needless to say, I never asked my doctor. I thought, what a guy thing to ask at 9 months pregnant if I'll swim in a meet in like a month, you know? But anyway, so I have my daughter, and as I'm holding her, and I'm very excited, the doctor starts walking out, congratulations. I'm like, thank you. I said, oh, by the way, I said, you know, I have a meet in 3 weeks. You don't mind if I swim in it, do you? He's like, Dara, he goes, you can go to the gym tomorrow. He said, but you can't swim for at least 6 weeks. And I'm like, okay. So I didn't go to the gym the next day. I actually waited a week and a half, and I went to the gym, and I'm out there, I'm doing some tricep extensions, feeling pretty good. Out of the corner of my eye, I see my doctor. I'm like, God, I wonder if he was kidding if I can go to the gym the next day, you know? And so I kind of turn around so he doesn't see me, and I keep doing my tricep extensions, and needless to say, he saw me, and he comes over, and he's like, what are you doing? I said, you said I could work out the next day, but I actually waited a week and a half. He's like, oh, and we do a little chit-chat. I said, you know, I had this meeting in a week and a half. You don't mind if I swim in it, do you? And I think just the constant kind of badgering of me asking him, he said, fine, do it. I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, us doctors, we say wait 6 weeks, we really don't know. And before he can get another word out of his mouth, I was out that door at my house, putting my swimsuit on, a little embarrassed with the way I looked, but then went to the pool and worked out for a week and a half, and then went to my first meet. And I really, in those months that I was swimming while I was pregnant, I had no desire to swim in a meet. Like, it was just, I just wanted to stay in shape. But I was kind of excited, and I swam this meet and made sure I breastfed so I was nice and light in the water, and then swam my meet and had a good time, you know? So at that point in time, my partner, he asked if I wanted to swim in another meet in a few months. I'm like, great, and it was a huge meet that was a Masters World Championships, and I went to that meet, and there were so many people coming up to me and saying, God, wouldn't it be great to see a 40-year-old go to the Olympics? I'm like, yeah, who's going? Let's cheer him on. And they're like, you. And I'm like, I don't want to go. And they're like, no, you have to go. We need someone to represent us. And so I was like, all right. So that was it. It wasn't like a big thought that I thought about that I wanted to do. It was just the pure pressure of these older swimmers telling me I need to go to the Olympics. And that's how I decided to go for 2008. And, you know, once I decided if I could go, there are a lot of people who were saying, you know, how is she going to do this? She's so old. But I thought, you know what? If Jack Nicklaus can win a Masters at 46 and Nolan Ryan can pitch a no-hitter at 44, why can't a 41-year-old mom go to the Olympic Games? And that's what I did, and I had a great time going. And you know, people asked me how I was going to do this, and you know, I really had a great team around me. I had, you know, trainers and my coaches and massage therapists and just a lot of people who worked together as a team. So I felt like when I went on the starting blocks, it wasn't just me up there. That was my role in this whole thing, but it was me being up there for my team. And I just want to share something with you that spoke to me about the power of teamwork. In the 1960 Olympic Games in Rome, Wilma Rudolph was declared the fastest woman in the world. And what very few people remember is she was a woman of enormous grace and dignity. She wore braces on her legs until she was 12 years old. Later in life, she wrote, no matter what accomplishments you make, somebody helps you. It speaks to the connections between us that make us excellent or leaves us simply average. So I thought that was kind of a cool quote because I really believe in teamwork. So I went to the Olympics, and as you guys saw, I got second. I always say I lost, but I guess it sounds better to say I got second. The one thing I thought about the minute I decided I was going to make the Olympic team, or wanted to go for the Olympic team, was that I was going to win a gold medal. And that's all I thought about it. Whatever it was feasible or not, I was going to win a gold medal. So when I went to the Olympics and I was seated 5th going into my event, the 50 freestyle, I was excited, you know, because I thought I was going to win a gold medal. And I'll never forget walking into the ready room, which is the place where all the athletes had to hang out about 20 minutes before you swim. And if you're not in there, you're basically disqualified. And so I walk in, and people were talking so much about my age, and oh, she's so old, how is she going to do this? But the minute I walked into that ready room, I realized I had such an advantage, because I walk in and I see this girl over there that looks like she's about to vomit. I'm like, well, at least I'll get in the top 7 out of 8, because she looks like she's going to like get sick to her stomach. And another girl looked like she was about to pass out. I'm like, okay, now I'm down to 6th place, so this is good, you know. And I realized that these kids think that swimming in these Olympic Games is the most important thing that they're ever going to do, and all I'm thinking about is my daughter, who's the most important thing to me in the world. And so there was definitely a maturity difference between me and the kids. And so people ask me, well, what do you think about, you know, when you're walking out there? And so we stand up, everyone has their goggles and their caps on, and we're walking out, and I'm the type of person that is like, you know, if you've done all the work up to that point, you just go out there and have fun. You know, you don't think, you just do. And that's the way I am. Everyone's different. People visualize and do what they want to do. But I feel like that if I listen to my coach, I ate the way I was supposed to eat, I train the way I was supposed to train, it's all done. You go out there and enjoy it. So I started walking out, and they're walking us out to the blocks. And I remember like kind of shaking my arms and like trying to get ready and stuff, and looking up into the stands. I'm like, where are those NBA guys? I said they're going to watch me swim, and everyone else is like concentrating on their lane, but I'm more worried about where the NBA guys are, because I said they're going to swim. Oh, there's LeBron. Hey, what's up? And there's Kobe and Jason Kidd. I'm like, all right, I'm ready to go now, And so the one thing I did though was I was the first one at the pool that morning. In the finals, they swam in the morning instead of night because of the time difference in Beijing. But I'll never forget, I got there at 6:45. I was the first one there. I think there was just the janitor, and Bob Costas was up in his little booth. Hey, Bob, and that was it. I mean, there was no one there, and I was loving it because I always wanted to be the most prepared no matter what when I go to a meet. And so I got there in the morning, and I did my warm-up swim. I swam in my lane that I was going to be swimming my race in, and memorized every nook and cranny, so I knew exactly where I was going to be in my race. I didn't want to look around and see where my competitors were. So we get up on the blocks, and I'm shaking, and I'm ready to swim my race, and the timer says, take your marks, and you get in your track position, and then the gun just goes off, and I go. And I'm swimming along, and people say, what do you think about? I have no idea what to think about. I just think I want to win, And so I'm going and going, and I touch the wall, and I put my goggles up, and I look at the scoreboard, and I can't see it because my eyes are bad, and I'm like, shit, where did I go, And I see a 2 by my name, and I'm like, all right, I got second place. Okay, that's cool, I guess, And I'm like, well, who won? And I see a number 1 by the German girl, and I'm like, okay, my coach is German. I guess that's cool, And I'm like, I wonder what the time difference is, And so I look at my time, it says 24.07. I look at her time, it says 24.06. Now the cuss words start coming, and I know backstage they're like, oh, look, you're smiling. I'm like, no, you have no idea what was going on in my head, even though when I touched the wall, it looked like I was smiling, but the cuss words start going, and I'm like, I lost by 100th of a second. How did this happen, And I start replaying. If you guys noticed, like, I wasn't totally there. I was smiling, but in my head, I was like, how did I lose this race? And to me, because I always want to win, I lost that race. I mean, you can say I got second place, and I say that to young kids, but I lost that race. I did not win. And so I started to replay the race in my head over and over again, and I thought, you know what? There really was nothing else I could have done. I did everything I could have done. My start was perfect. My race was perfect. My touch was perfect. I did everything leading up to the race perfectly, but I got second place. And it'll probably, every time I see that race, it just eats me up inside. But I don't think I'd be where I am right now going for another Olympic Games if I had won a gold medal. And I actually, when I got done swimming, I came out of those Olympics with 3 medals, so I have 12 now, and I thought, I have enough medals, I don't need to do this anymore. And I got back to Coral Springs right after I got done swimming. I think I stayed a day in China, and that was it. And I got back, and I thought to myself, do I really want to swim anymore? I'm done. Let the young kids do it. And I think that lasted like a week. And I was back in the water. And you know what? When you really love something, why can't you still do it? I have so many people say, well, let the young kids do it. And you've done enough. You have enough medals. But if I love it and I'm still okay at it, why can't I do it? And so I swam for a year, went to World Championships, and after that, I had to get some major knee reconstructive surgery where they had to transplant cartilage and regrow it, and it was about a 2-year recovery. And I got back and started training about a year and a half ago, and my coach and I never forget, we were at lunch, and it was July of 2010, and I just wanted to have lunch with him, and he's like, let's do it again. I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, let's do this again. And he goes, you just got done with this surgery, and that's a big obstacle, and you're getting older, and you're almost in menopause, so let's just hurry up and do this. And and I was like, okay. And so it's really motivated me there. And so I thought, all right, I'll do this again. And so I started in July of 2010 after taking that break for my knee. And it's been a long road. It seemed so easy in '08 to kind of get back in shape and do it. And it's taken me about a year and a half to gain sort of 10 pounds back to where I was in '08. And things just seem like they take longer. And I get out of bed sometimes and my back hurts from just getting out of bed, not doing anything but just getting out of bed. And so I get these aches and pains that all middle-aged people get that have nothing to do with my training. And so I'm starting to feel it, but I really love the sport, and I really enjoy doing this. And I decided, I'm going to do this. And actually, 2 months from today is my first race at Olympic trials. And a lot of people ask me, well, how are you going to do? How are you going to do? I have no idea. My last goal in the last Olympics was gold medal, and I don't think if I didn't think I was going to win a gold medal. I don't think I even would have gotten a silver medal. But this time around, it's much different. I have to be a little more realistic. And I'm really gunning towards trying to make the Olympic team. You have to swim the race 3 times. The toughest thing for me is swimming it 3 times. If I just had to swim it once, I'd probably bet on myself that I can win a gold medal, but I have to swim it 3 times in order to qualify and then swim it 3 times in order to win a medal. And so that's going to be tough, but I'm up for this challenge, and I'm enjoying it, and I love it, and this is definitely the last time. I want to hurry up and do this before I do get to menopause, and we'll see what happens. So I'm excited about it, and this thing is counting down. I have 20 seconds left, so I'm trying to race this all in really quick. And here are my abs again really quick. No, I'm just kidding. But thank you guys very much, and I was really excited actually when they did ask me to come and speak to you guys. You're a great group, and I love General Mills, and you guys enjoy the rest of your time here.